everybody, Sarah from Monday's New Hope, and you might recognize me. I've been on the channel before, and I used to be a host on Saturdays, and Agenda does such an awesome job on Saturdays that I decided I was going to take another day. So I'm excited to be on Mondays/Tuesdays if I don't get it up on time on Monday. So yeah, and I'm 26. I'm currently studying human kinetics and health sciences, and I hope to start an accelerated BSCN program in about a year. So I'll be finishing up my degree this one, and eventually I want to go into nursing and to nurse practitioner. So yeah, that's what my goal is, and for my life anyway. And I love swimming, I love horseback riding, I love just sort of health promotion and kind of making up for lost time with trying to make peace with my body and the miracle that it is. So yeah, the topic. Sorry, I'm really tired, so I'm a little bit zoned out, and yeah, it's one that's kind of followed me around a lot in treatment, and I think it's one that's fairly common to a lot of us, and it's self-sabotage. You know, why do we keep letting ourselves be triggered? Why do we go places where we know we will be triggered? Why do we go to pro-eating disorder sites? Why do we ignore trigger warnings? Why do we read books that are triggering? And I only have one answer to that, and I think that it's probably the best answer that we have, and that is because it's a disease. It's a disease, it's an illness. There's a certain level of compulsion to it. You know, we can't really stop ourselves. Especially early on in recovery when it feels kind of like you have one foot in, one foot out, which it can feel like that later on too, but at least you know by that point through some mastery that you are actually making sure that you're going more forward than you are backward. And that's what recovery is. It's like up and down, up and down, up and down, and in terms of, you know, trigger warnings, it's just human nature. What are you going to do if someone says, don't touch that, it's hot? Well, if you're smart, you're not going to touch it, but chances are you'll probably touch it, or at least feel compelled to for a little bit. And so that's why I think we ignore trigger warnings. I think it's partially human nature, and I think that, you know, part of us wants to soothe our eating disorder. For so many of us, it's been such a long time, and it's been such a huge part of our lives, that it's really, really important. Like, letting go of it's almost a loss, and letting go of it all at once is almost impossible, because we'd lose too much of ourselves in that sort of one huge, massive step. So I think that a lot of times triggers and trigger warnings and that kind of thing, and the fact that we can't really avoid them, and that we try our best to, but we find ourselves self-sabotaging. I think that that's probably mostly because it's an illness, and two, because we're human. In terms of pro-eating disorder sites, like I said, I think that the fact that people can't avoid them is probably the best indicator that an eating disorder is an illness and a disease, and not lifestyle, or whatever, quote-unquote lifestyle. And I think that it's I just think they should be banned, and I really hate the movement, and it's just backwards. It's messed up. You know, resistant triggers, how do you do it? just get rid of them, you know, as much as you can. A lot of people hold on to smaller clothes or pictures of themselves when they were smaller, and the pictures I'm okay with, just because you can't really sort of delete that entire part of your life, but having your clothes that are too small is just, it's just like one big huge rope holding you back. And I think that it's really important that at some point we get rid of them. Like, I know that I've only gotten rid of them in the last sort of few months, I guess. Like really rid of them. And I'm never going to fit in them again. Like, it is physiologically impossible for me to fit into them, even if I were to become very anorexic again, just because a lot of them, I've actually grown a little bit in my adulthood because of all the not growing I did when I was a kid. So it's physiologically impossible for me to actually fit into them, but holding on to them, like, there's no point. And there's just getting rid of all the triggers you can. In terms of books, there's not really any book out there that I would recommend to any eating disorder patient, because they're all triggering. No, that's not true. There's one that I would, and I asked myself, why is it not triggering and the rest of them triggering? And I realized it's because it wasn't in quite as explicit detail. You know, I didn't have to know that such and such was such and such pounds, and her blood pressure was such and such, and that she ate this much, and, you know, like, I don't need to know those details. And, like, to recover, that's not what I need to know. To recover, I need to know about how did you change your patterns of thinking, you know, how many people actually do recover, how great is life after recovery. So, as hard as it is to not trigger yourself into your eating disorder, try not to. But if you do, just make sure the very last thing you do is trigger yourself into recovery. So, yeah, you're having trouble, you're struggling one day, and you find yourself on a pro-eating disorder site. First of all, do not favorite it, and don't ever go back to it. But second of all, come back here. Come back to the channel. You know, go to We Are Freedom's website, Freedom Fighters website. Go to the Facebook group. Just be there and be in the realm of recovery, so that the very last thing you remember is that you're headed out of this, and you're not staying here, or you're not staying in a place that is really so self-defeating. So I hope that maybe you shed some insight or whatever, and I hope to see you next week. Take care.